The boyfriend's mother called and asked us to come over for dinner. As soon as we arrived at his house, a 5-year-old child suddenly dashed into his arms, calling him Dad. A plainly dressed woman with a radiant smile turned to greet me warmly. Emily, it's been such a long time. I can't believe you actually managed to win over Ethan. I glanced at my boyfriend, Ethan, suspiciously. He replied indifferently. Claire got divorced and returned to the country. She doesn't have a place to stay for now, so I let her and her son stay here with my mom. It was a struggle for me to get through that meal. Afterward, I agreed to go on a blind date at my family's request and got married within a week. At the dinner table, they all laughed and talked like a happy family, while I sat silently in the corner, saying nothing. Ethan's mother held the 5-year-old child and kept calling him the family's eldest grandson, her laughter brimming with joy. Suddenly, the child looked at Ethan and said loudly, "Dad, the toy car you bought for me this time. I love it so much." "That's good to hear," Ethan replied gently, his gaze full of affection as if looking at his own son. Perhaps noticing my displeased expression, Claire hurriedly scolded her child. "Tyler, how many times have I told you not to call Uncle Ethan Dad? Uncle Ethan isn't married yet." Although her words sounded like she was reprimanding him, her face showed no anger. Instead, she smiled brightly. Then, Claire picked up a piece of fish and placed it on Ethan's plate, saying, "Ethan, try this. See if my cooking skills have deteriorated. I made this dish especially for you, knowing you'd be back." Her actions were so natural, so practiced, that they looked like a real couple. "It's great," Ethan said. "All those years you were abroad, I couldn't even have this dish. Now that you're back, I can enjoy it again." He opened his mouth to eat the fish, and his lips unintentionally touched the chopsticks Claire had used. Watching that, I felt nauseous, losing any appetite I had left. While I was still dazed, Claire suddenly picked up another piece of fish and tried to put it on my plate. "Emily, you should try my cooking too." I quickly moved my plate away and coldly replied, "I don't like fish. I'm overly particular about cleanliness." The smile on Claire's face froze immediately. She bit her lip, looking aggrieved, her eyes welling with tears as if she were about to cry. Seeing her reaction, Ethan grabbed the piece of fish from her chopsticks and put it on his plate instead. He frowned and scolded me. "What's wrong with you? How long have I known you without knowing you were so picky? You're just trying to cause trouble, aren't you?" The frustration I had suppressed for so long became unbearable. Tears streamed down my face. Before I could say anything, Claire spoke up. "Ethan, don't blame Emily. It's my fault for being too eager." As soon as she finished her sentence, a small hand suddenly flew toward me, slapping my face. "Don't bully my mom," the child yelled. I looked up, my tear-filled eyes meeting the sight of Claire's son standing defiantly, hands on his hips, his small face full of anger, furious to the point of trembling. I gritted my teeth and said, "Do you even know what manners are?" The child, startled by my outburst, burst into tears. Ethan's mother quickly scooped him up and comforted him while chiding me. "You should speak calmly. How can you scare a child like that? He's just a kid and doesn't know better. You're only making things worse." Claire also stood up, reprimanding me. "Emily, no matter what, you shouldn't take it out on a child." Ethan quickly calmed Claire down, guiding her back to her seat before turning to me. "Apologize to the kid right now. You're an adult. How can you stoop to arguing with a child?" Unable to hold back the overwhelming resentment, I slammed my chopsticks down, stood up, and walked out the door. As I passed the cabinet, my eyes were drawn to a toy car prominently displayed on top. It was the very toy that Claire's son had said he loved the most. And it was also the toy Ethan said he had bought for his nephew before we came over. Ethan had mentioned to me earlier that a young child was staying at his house. I hadn't thought much of it and assumed it was his sister's child. Little did I know it was Claire's son. Thinking about this, I grabbed the toy car, opened the door, and threw it straight outside. The sound of Claire's son crying and Ethan's furious roar immediately erupted behind me. "Emily, are you out of your mind?" Ignoring the commotion inside, I walked out the door and waited for the elevator. Ethan came storming out, grabbed my arm forcefully, and tried to drag me back into the house. "Go back and apologize now. How can you?" as an adult, hold a grudge against a child? I struggled to pull my arm free, my eyes red with anger as I shouted at him. Ethan, don't you think the one who should apologize is that rude child? Smack. A sudden slap landed on my face, leaving me stunned. Tyler doesn't have a father. Isn't that pitiful enough? Can't you be more understanding? Scolding a child. Don't you feel cruel? Ethan's blatant favoritism made me laugh bitterly. If that makes me cruel, then fine. Call me cruel. But if you think I'm going to apologize, dream on. Just then, the elevator doors opened. I quickly stepped inside, leaving Ethan standing outside, fuming with rage. When I returned to the apartment Ethan and I shared, I began packing all my belongings. Once everything was ready, I had it sent back to my parents' home. Then, I booked a flight for the same day. I had lived in this city for 7 years because of Ethan, but this time, I would never return. Ethan called me repeatedly, but I didn't answer. For the first time, I didn't give in. I had been so foolish before. He had secretly flown abroad just because Claire said, "I miss you." He had even sold the small company he had spent years building just to pay off Claire's debts, leaving himself with nothing. There were countless incidents like these. Yet I had always forgiven him and felt sorry for him. I even hid it from him when I begged my family to use their connections to help his career. But no matter how much I did, I could never compare to Claire, his childhood sweetheart. To him, Claire was more important than his own life. And yet, despite how much he valued her, she had chosen another man all those years ago. When I returned home with my luggage, my mom glanced at me and scoffed. "Finally found your way back? Tasted enough bitterness, haven't you?" Though her words were sharp, she still helped me carry my bags inside. I forced a weak smile and didn't dare talk back because I knew I had been wrong. Very wrong. Neither of my parents had ever liked Ethan. They had opposed our relationship from the start. I had begged and cried for an entire month before they reluctantly agreed. But even their agreement came with conditions. They had wanted Ethan to marry into our family. But I knew how proud Ethan was. He would never agree to that. So, I had kept it a secret and quietly moved to his city. But reality had given me a harsh slap in the face. That evening, as we sat down for dinner, my dad returned home from work. He glanced at me coldly, snorted, and headed straight for his study. My mom nudged me with her eyes, signaling me to follow him. After 10 minutes of coaxing, I finally managed to calm him down. The house returned to its usual warmth and laughter. At dinner, my dad mentioned that he had found a potential match for me. He was a young man who had built his career from the ground up, ambitious and quite capable. After my dad finished speaking, both of my parents looked at me with eager anticipation. My mom pursed her lips slightly, as if ready to persuade me, worried I might refuse. After all, I had always opposed blind dates before. My dad, however, wore a dark expression, silently warning me that if I dared to say no, he wouldn't hold back. I couldn't help but laugh and quickly agreed. "Dad, send me his contact information. I'll meet him tomorrow." Hearing this, my parents' faces immediately lit up with joy, and the tension in the room melted into laughter. After dinner, I sat down to delete the few photos Ethan and I had taken together over the past few years. Just as I finished, a video call from Ethan popped up on my phone. I thought this might be my chance to end things clearly with him. But as soon as I answered, Ethan launched into a barrage of scolding. "I'm not coming home tonight. Stay at home and reflect on yourself. You've ruined my entire visit home. I was planning to let Tyler warm up to you, which is why I told you to buy that toy. But look at how you treated a child. You acted like a shrew. Now, not only does Tyler dislike you, but even my mom doesn't like you. Tell me, what should we do now?" He rambled on, glaring at me as if expecting an answer, completely unaware that the background behind me was no longer the apartment we had once shared. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly at his words. I was dating him. Why did I need the approval of a child? I was about to reply when a woman's voice interrupted from his side. "Ethan, do you think I look good in this outfit?" A moment later, Claire appeared on the screen, dressed in a revealing silk nightgown, sitting closely beside Ethan. Seeing me on the call, Claire smiled and said sweetly, "Oh, Emily, don't be mad at Ethan anymore. Tyler isn't mad at you either. So don't make things harder for Ethan. Her attempt to mediate seemed fake. It was clearly a provocation. Her suggestive outfit and the way she leaned into Ethan said it all. Ethan's face turned red. But he didn't move away, letting Claire stay close to him. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened between them. Their intimate actions resembled those of a real couple. But outwardly, they maintained the pretense of being just friends. Suddenly, I felt a presence behind me. Unbeknownst to me, my mom had walked in. She grabbed the phone from my hands and said sternly, "Don't contact my daughter again. From now on, it's over between you two." With that, she ended the call. Her anger palpable. Ethan must have panicked because he immediately tried calling back. But I didn't answer and had no intention of doing so. My mom, worried I might waver, reminded me firmly, but I reassured her by gently patting her hand and promising not to relent. The next morning, I went out to meet the man my parents had arranged for me to see. He had a polite and humorous way of speaking, and his family background matched ours well. During our conversation, both sides felt satisfied. His name was Nathan Taylor, a prominent figure in the business world. By the age of 30, he had taken over his family's company and elevated it to new heights. My parents had already looked into him thoroughly. He had no messy romantic history, was wholly dedicated to his career, and his reputation in the industry was stellar. He was undoubtedly someone worth entrusting one's future to. After our meeting, since both families were acquainted, the marriage was quickly arranged. Our wedding date was set for the end of the month, just a few weeks away. That evening, after finishing a phone call with Nathan, feeling bored, I scrolled through my social media feed and came across something laughable. Ethan had taken Claire and her son on a vacation. They even stayed in the same hotel. Claire had posted a caption along with some photos. "Somewhere between friendship and love. Maybe soon we'll be a real family of 3. The photos included a shot of a double bed in the hotel room, and another of Ethan bathing with her son in the hotel bathroom. Below the posts were comments from Ethan's friends and Claire's close circle, people I was familiar with and even connected with on social media. One comment read, "Now you see how good Ethan is, don't you, Claire?" Claire replied with a shy emoji. Someone else chimed in, "Good thing you turned back in time. Imagine if Ethan had ended up with someone else." Then, one of Claire's friends, acting as if they'd had an epiphany, commented, "Oh my gosh, so Ethan hasn't married his girlfriend all these years because he was waiting for you? And now you're so happy together." The comment section continued with a flood of congratulations. "Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness. And hope you two have a baby girl soon to complete the family." I smirked and intentionally copied one of those comments, pasting it back as a reply under Claire's post. Unexpectedly, as soon as my comment went up, a friend messaged me privately, "Did you and Ethan break up?" I paused for a moment. Although I hadn't explicitly said it to him, it was clear enough that we were done. So, I replied, "Yes, we broke up." After getting my confirmation, she immediately wrote back, "Ethan is such a scumbag. Breaking up is the right choice. I hope he and Claire stick together forever and stop hurting other people." I laughed and replied, "It's fine. I'm getting married soon anyway. I'll send you an invite." After chatting for a few minutes, I ended the conversation. Then I went through my photo albums and found a wedding dress I had saved for 7 years. I used to adore that dress and thought it was perfect. But now, looking at it again, I realized it wasn't that beautiful. The dress wasn't expensive or particularly unique. I couldn't understand why I had liked it so much back then, enough to save it for so many years. Reflecting on it now, I could only think my taste at the time was truly terrible. While lost in thought, my phone suddenly rang. It was Ethan, curious about what he had to say. I answered, "Emily, don't misunderstand. The reason we're sharing a room is for convenience so I can take care of Tyler. Plus, it's a double room. You've seen that, right? Don't overthink things. About the other day, if you're no longer upset, just stay home and wait for me. I'll take Claire and her son on this trip to help them relax, and then I'll come back to pick you up." Okay. When I stayed silent, Ethan must have thought I was still angry. He quickly switched to a coaxing tone, almost as if talking to a child. "Emily, don't be mad anymore. Tyler is just a kid. If he's not upset, why should you, as an adult, hold a grudge? I admit. I was a bit impatient when I asked you to apologize that day. Can you forgive me? Honey. Ethan only ever called me honey when he realized he had done something to upset me. In the past, I might have forgiven him, but now, I wanted to let go, to take control of my life and free myself from the murky entanglement between him and Claire. I no longer wanted to be part of their game. Thinking of this, I smiled and said, "Well, I hope you two have fun together." My smile carried no trace of jealousy, only pure sincerity. For a moment, Ethan seemed taken aback. "Tyler's calling me to bed," he said hurriedly. "He wants me to hold him while he sleeps. I'll call you later." "Okay." Without waiting for my response, he hung up. I took a deep breath and immediately called Nathan. "Let's move up the wedding date. Let's plan for that day." On the other end, Nathan didn't seem surprised. Instead, he asked with concern, "Are you sure about this? Is something wrong? You don't seem to be in a good mood." Nathan asked gently. I hadn't expected someone nearly 30 years old, with no prior relationships, to be so perceptive. The night before the wedding, I sent out my invitations to my old classmates group chat. The chat immediately exploded with messages. "Emily, why isn't Ethan the groom? You're joking, right? You two were together for almost 7 years. I never even heard about a breakup. How did you marry someone else so quickly? Wait, is the stuff on Claire's social media true? Did you two actually break up?" Faced with a flood of questions, I replied with just one message: "Ethan and I are in the past. I hope you'll come to my wedding." As soon as I sent it, the replies shifted to congratulations. Ironically, they were almost identical to the comments on Claire's post. I scrolled through my feed again, and Claire's updates dominated the screen. Ethan had taken her to so many places I had never been. Traveling with Ethan was something I had longed for, but he always said he was too busy with work. Yet for Claire, he seemed to find all the time in the world. Ethan gave Claire the kind of indulgence I had only dreamed of. Thankfully, I no longer wanted it. Suddenly, I saw a comment under one of Claire's posts. "Emily is getting married soon. Are you two planning to attend?" The comment was quickly deleted. I chuckled. Was Claire afraid I might take Ethan back? So, she was worrying over nothing. If I measured it, Claire owned 3/4 of Ethan's heart. My share might not even reach 1/4. With odds like that, how could I ever be a rival to her? On my wedding day, the venue was packed with guests. Many influential figures in the business world attended, some to celebrate Nathan, one of the rising stars in the industry, and others to show their respect. That night, after an exhausting day of celebrations, Nathan and I finally went to bed close to midnight. Initially, he suggested we take it slow and give ourselves more time to get closer, but I didn't give him that chance. The next morning, the alarm clock rang, waking me up. I was still groggy and unwilling to open my eyes, so I asked Nathan to answer the phone for me. In my half-asleep state, I thought I heard Ethan's furious voice on the other end. "Who are you calling her husband? What's wrong with Emily's husband? Are you with her right now? Tell her to pick up the phone." "Sorry, my wife is still sleeping," Nathan replied calmly before hanging up. By then, I was more awake, but I said nothing and went back to sleep. Nathan must have put my phone on silent because I knew Ethan would keep calling non-stop. Before leaving for work, Nathan hugged me, kissed my forehead, and went to the bathroom. When I finally got up, he had already been gone for over an hour. He had left me a message reminding me to eat breakfast. On my phone screen, a long list of missed calls glared in red, more than 20 from Ethan. I opened the call log and decided to call him back. I had completely let go, so I was calm when facing him. "Emily, what are you trying to do?" Ethan shouted the moment he picked up. "Are you putting a green hat on me? Who is that man? Did you hire someone to pretend to be your husband just to provoke me?" Before I could answer, he continued ranting. "Tell me, did you do this on purpose to make me angry? Let me tell you, you won't succeed. If you want to play, I'll play with you. But don't blame me if you get yourself into trouble. You know my rules. Once something's broken, it can't be fixed." All I could hear after that was his angry, labored breathing. Calmly, I replied, "Yes, I understand. I'm hanging up now. I need to get up and have breakfast," I said. cutting the conversation short. From the other end of the line, Ethan's disbelieving voice called out, "What did you just say? Are you saying that everything I've been telling you doesn't matter to you?" "Yes," I replied flatly. "I don't care about anything you're saying. I don't want to hear another word of your whining." And with that, I hung up without hesitation. Was he stranded on a deserted island? My wedding had been an extravagant affair, trending on social media for 3 days. If he had checked the internet, he would have known everything. After finishing breakfast, I unexpectedly received a call from Claire. "Congratulations, Emily. You finally decided to get married. If you'd waited any longer, you'd have turned into an old maid," she sneered. Hearing the mockery in her tone, I couldn't help but retort, "Are you feeling insecure about yourself? Is that why you went to such lengths to keep Ethan from finding out that I'm married?" Claire let out a cold laugh. I've known Ethan's feelings for me since we were kids. The bond between us is something you could never compare to. For example, this time, I came back to the country and easily took him back from you. What do you have to compete with me?" Her smugness didn't faze me. I simply laughed and replied, "Well, congratulations. Ethan is yours now, free of charge." Claire seemed slightly taken aback but quickly recovered with another haughty tone. "Since you're married, don't bother us anymore. My son loves having Ethan as his father, and I've decided to accept him as well. From now on, just stay out of our lives." With that, she hung up. I glanced at my phone and saw that I had recorded the entire conversation. Suddenly, I remembered something Ethan had once said to me. "Claire and I grew up together. I know her better than anyone. She's not manipulative like you." He had said that during a conflict between Claire and me early in our relationship. Back then, Claire must have felt I had stolen Ethan from her. On Ethan's birthday, she lied to me, saying he'd been in a car accident. Panicked, I rushed to the hospital, only to find out it was a prank. She had shrugged and said nonchalantly, "I was just joking." Claire had played many such jokes on me, yet I had always trusted Ethan unconditionally. After that incident, I couldn't take it anymore and told Ethan what had happened, but he chose to side with Claire and accused me of being manipulative. Looking back, I didn't blame him for thinking that. After all, I had poured all my energy into pursuing him. I woke up early on freezing winter mornings to buy him breakfast. I pretended to accidentally bump into him with my poor acting skills. I tried to win over his cat, enduring scratches multiple times in the process. Those were my attempts to show my dedication, but I never hurt anyone. Now, I understood. How could I ever compare to Claire? It was all in my head, my own delusion. I still remembered the day Ethan agreed to date me. I had been so happy that I told random strangers on the street like a fool. That day, Claire had announced her relationship with someone else, leaving Ethan heartbroken and utterly listless. He had looked like a man whose soul had been drained. I had told him, "Ethan, people say that the best way to forget someone is to start a new relationship. How about we try?" His vacant eyes stared at me, the silence so heavy that I could hear both of our heartbeats. After a long pause, he said, "Okay." Returning to the present, I sent the recording of Claire's call to Ethan, not out of spite, but to let him see Claire's true colors. I wanted him to know, no matter how calculated I may have been, I could never match Claire's level of cruelty. When she didn't need Ethan, she could happily move abroad. When she wanted him back, she could effortlessly return, as if nothing had ever happened. Half an hour later, Ethan called me again. "Are you jealous? Is that why you're pretending to be married to trick me?" He accused. When someone has nothing left to say, all they can do is laugh. I finally understood that deeply. Without a word, I hung up and blocked his number without hesitation. Reflecting on the years I spent liking Ethan, I seriously questioned whether I had been under some kind of spell, blinded or completely out of my mind. After getting married, Nathan and I got along surprisingly well. I wasn't sure if he loved me, but I noticed the small details. He put me at the top of his priority contacts, changed his social media profile picture to one of me, and posted several photos of me in my wedding dress, even though he had never shared anything personal online before. Looking at the pictures, I noticed the way his eyes seemed full of affection when he looked at me. I didn't know if it was real or just my imagination. Regardless, His actions made me feel truly happy. A week later, news about Ethan reached me. He had called my mother, saying he was back from his trip and wanted to visit our home to discuss marriage. My mom, unable to hold back, called him crazy and hung up on him. Ethan then used another number to call me. As soon as I answered, he launched into his speech. Emily, stop playing games. I know you've waited 7 years to marry me. I've made up my mind. Let's get married now that I'm back. But I need to remind you of one thing. After we're married, I'll treat Tyler as my own son. And if Claire, as a single mother, needs help, I'll continue to support her. I hope you won't mind this. I couldn't help but laugh. Handing the phone to Nathan, I said, "Darling, please handle this for me." Nathan frowned as he took the phone, his tone firm and serious. "I hope you'll stop bothering my wife. If you don't, I won't hesitate to make sure you're dealt with legally." For once, Ethan didn't react with his usual anger. Instead, he calmly replied, "How much is Emily paying you to play along with this charade?" Hearing that, I couldn't hold back my laughter. Snatching the phone from Nathan, I shouted, "I've bought him for life. If you don't believe me, I'd be happy to send you a private video of us to prove it." You shameless woman," Ethan stammered, his voice trembling with anger. Smiling triumphantly, I hung up. When I turned back to Nathan, I noticed his face was as red as a tomato. Did you record something? When did you do that?" he stuttered, avoiding eye contact. I burst out laughing and teased him. "Take a guess." Unexpectedly, Nathan turned even redder, mumbling, "Don't send anything. I don't want him seeing you like that." I cupped his face, laughing as I kissed his forehead. "Relax. I didn't record anything. I was just messing with him." In the end, Ethan couldn't reach me anymore. Through mutual friends, he eventually found out that I was married. I later heard from those same friends that when Ethan learned the news, he looked like he'd lost his soul, muttering to himself endlessly. One day, while walking near our home, I noticed Ethan trying to approach me. A couple of security guards immediately restrained him. "Emily, come back to me. Let's go home and have our wedding." "Okay," he pleaded desperately. I gently placed a hand on my belly and looked at him. "I'm pregnant. Do you really think that's possible? Don't you like Claire? Your mom adores her. Tyler wants you to be his dad. Isn't marrying Claire to officially become Tyler's father the best solution?" As I spoke, a woman appeared with a child in tow. It was Claire. Speak of the devil. And the devil appears. "Emily, why are you still tangled up with Ethan? He and I are about to get married. Can you just stay away from him?" Claire said angrily, then rushed over, trying to pull the security guards away from Ethan. "Let go of him. If my fiancé gets hurt, none of you will be able to bear the consequences," she shouted. Suddenly, Ethan turned toward Claire, his voice sharp. "Who's your fiancé, Claire? We haven't gotten married yet, have we?" Claire froze for a moment, then quickly regained her composure, shrugging as if it didn't matter. "We'll get married sooner or later. Your mom already agreed, didn't she?" "Then go marry my mom," Ethan snapped. "I hope you don't misunderstand, Claire. The only reason I've taken care of you and your son is because of our past. I haven't loved you for a long time. The only person I love is Emily." Hearing this, I wasn't surprised, nor did I feel any emotion stir within me. But standing nearby, Tyler's face turned red with anger. He began hitting Ethan repeatedly, yelling, "You're a bad man. I don't want you to be my dad anymore." Ethan, now completely out of patience, shouted back at Tyler, "Get out of my way." The absurdity of the scene made me laugh. I turned to Nathan and said, "Let's go, darling." Nathan smiled warmly. "Of course," he replied, wrapping his arm around me as we walked toward our car. Behind us, Ethan and Claire continued arguing, but when Ethan noticed we were leaving, he broke free from the guards and ran toward our car. He banged on the window, desperately trying to get me to come out. But before he could say another word, the car engine started, and we drove off, leaving him standing dazed in the middle of the street. In the days that followed, Nathan and I decided to take a vacation. The moment the plane took off, all the lingering discomfort I'd felt seemed to vanish into thin air. For the past week, Ethan had been harassing me nonstop. He camped outside my house every day, demanding to see me. Even after calling the police multiple times, the problem wasn't resolved. In the end, I had to call his mother to come and take him away. Unexpectedly, on the way to pick him up, the gas line in the apartment Ethan rented leaked. He was rushed to the emergency room and barely survived. Although he ultimately pulled through, he fell into a vegetative state. His mother begged me to visit him just once, but I refused. Ethan's condition was entirely the result of his own choices. During our trip, I overheard gossip from friends that Claire had married an older man with some money. Not long after, I heard that the man had gambled away all his assets. Claire often suffered domestic violence but didn't dare file for divorce. Her son, living under his stepfather's roof, wasn't treated well either, often going hungry and living a miserable life. As for me, by chance, I discovered a secret about Nathan. It turned out that my husband was the boy who had saved me when I was 15. Back then, my parents and I had gone to the beach for vacation. I had carelessly ventured too far into the water and was nearly swept away by the waves. A boy, slightly older than me, had courageously grabbed my hand and pulled me to safety. I was so terrified at the time that I forgot to thank him. By the time I realized it and wanted to express my gratitude, he was gone. Thankfully, fate brought him back into my life. Nathan is a good man, someone worthy of my love, and most importantly, he loves me too.
Understand.
As for Ethan, I lost her. Ethan lamented. I lost a girl who loved me so deeply. A girl who waited 7 years for me. I can't believe she actually got married. And to someone who wasn't me. He continued. I never imagined someone who loved me so much could end up with another man while still in love with me. She clung to me like some unshakable adhesive, impossible to peel off. But when she stopped loving me, I finally realized how deeply I loved her. In truth, I had loved her for a long time. I imagined what her reaction would have been if I had told her I wanted to marry her. How happy would she have been? Just like the day I agreed to date her. Her joy was so foolishly pure. She eagerly shared it with every passerby she met. That was the first time I felt how much someone could love me. In my relationship with Claire, I was always the one being controlled. But with Emily, the dynamic was entirely different. I became the one leading our relationship. And gradually, I began to enjoy the feeling of being loved so madly. As time passed, I realized that my heart was slowly but surely being filled by Emily. I came to understand that she had occupied so much of my heart that there was no longer room for Claire. But perhaps, deep down, I always believed that the things we can't have are the most desirable. That repressed longing finally exploded when Claire returned to the country. I yearned to win her heart, to prove that I was no less than anyone else, to ask why she hadn't chosen me back then. But when Claire cried and said she regretted her choices, I felt a sense of satisfaction. That moment, I suddenly no longer wanted her heart. Instead, the image of Emily flooded my mind. Only then did I truly believe that I loved her entirely. Perhaps it was due to my complicated psyche, but even though I knew I didn't love Claire, I couldn't stop myself from wanting to take care of her and her son. In the end, my foolishness drove Emily to marry someone else so quickly. I regretted it so much that I wanted to die, but I still tried one last time to win her back. After all, she had loved me for so many years. How could she stop loving me just like that? Reality, however, delivered a harsh slap to my face. Emily looked genuinely happy. Her gaze, once meant only for me, now belonged to someone else. My heart ached in waves, each one leaving me breathless. This pain was 10 times worse than what I felt when Claire chose someone else all those years ago. When I was unconscious from the gas poisoning, I dreamt that Emily and I were married. We had beautiful children and lived a happy life. I couldn't tell if it was a dream or reality. Even if it was a dream, I didn't want to wake up. Let me remain trapped in that dream forever. Was it punishment? Or was it a reward? I thought it was a reward. But Emily would surely see it as punishment. She likely wouldn't even want to appear in my dreams. The only strength keeping me alive is the thought of a world where Emily exists. If time could turn back, I would be the first to confess to her. On the day she confessed to me, I would respond to her fiery love with a love twice as intense. In a parallel universe, we would surely be happy together, wouldn't we? Emily, I love you. I've wanted to say this for so long. I also want to say, I'm sorry for letting down your passionate love. If there's a next life, please let me love you more deeply. Okay,